Door to the living room was ajar. A pale strip of light from the hallway cut across the floor. From inside, I heard the familiar sound of my husband clearing his throat that way he does when he's trying to sound calm but is actually nervous, and his son's voice, low, almost satisfied. 17 years old. Old enough to know what he was saying. Young enough for most people to pretend they don't understand the consequences. I could have pushed the door open. I could have screamed. I could have done what everyone expects a betrayed woman to do. Explode, cry, make a scene. But I didn't do any of that. I just stood there for 2 seconds, breathing slowly, as if my life depended on not making a sound because, in that instant, it did. The key to my car felt heavy in my palm, like it had turned to hot metal. I took one step back, then another. I turned the front doorknob with the delicacy of someone trying not to wake a child. I left. The condo building was exactly the same. The brightly lit lobby, the security camera pointed at the garage entrance, a dog barking somewhere upstairs, and the distant roar of the freeway, like a sea of tires. I walked to my car with my usual posture, spine straight, face neutral as if I'd just forgotten something. The security guard at the desk gave me a "night, ma'am," without looking up from his monitor. I answered with a nod. A minimal smile. It's all training. In the driver's seat, I didn't start the car, not out of fear, but out of calculation. I opened my phone and sent a simple text to my husband. Going out, need to take care of something, and I left it at that. The moment you say, "I just heard your son say he cut the brakes on my car," you lose control of the narrative. You give them time to turn it all against you, to call it a misunderstanding, your imagination, drama. I wasn't going to give them that gift. I got out of the car, locked it, and walked to the most discreet corner of the parking garage, near a concrete pillar where the security camera had a clear view. I called a tow truck service. "AAA, this is Brenda. I need a tow from inside a residential garage, West LA. It's urgent." My voice came out firm and cold. The operator asked for the license plate, model, and address. I answered as if I were ordering a pizza. While I waited, I did what I always do when something threatens to break me. I organized. I opened the notes app on my phone and wrote with timestamps. 7:42 p.m. Arrived home. Overheard cut the brakes. Funeral tomorrow. 7:44 p.m. Exited without being seen. 7:46 p.m. Called for a tow truck. A part of me was trembling inside. I could feel it in my fingertips, but the outside was glass. The tow truck arrived about 20 minutes later. The driver was the quiet type, grim-faced, wrinkled uniform. He looked at the car, then at me, broke down. "I'm not driving it, that's all." I handed him the key. He maneuvered the hook, lowered the ramp, and lifted the car with practiced calm. I just stood there watching, my stomach churning. Before climbing into the cab, he held out a clipboard. "Where are we taking it, ma'am?" I stared at the paper for a second, as if it were a silly question. And that's when I made the decision that would change the tone of everything. I wasn't taking the car to a mechanic yet. I was taking it to the boy's mother, because I wanted her to hear it from my mouth and see with her own eyes what her son was capable of. I wanted to peel the overdramatic stepmother label right off my forehead. I gave him the address, a street in Sherman Oaks. He raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. Okay. I went back into my apartment building, just long enough to grab my purse, nothing more. I didn't want to run into either of them, not in that first hour. In that first hour, I needed to be alive, not victorious. I took the service elevator out of pure reflex. On the way, the building's resident group chat was already buzzing. "Hey, did anyone see that tow truck just now? P2 level, belongs to the woman in 12B. A reply came instantly. Ugh, probably another one of their fights. I read it without feeling shame, without feeling anger. Gossip is just noise. I work with silence. When the tow truck pulled up in front of his ex-wife's building, I got out with the same composure as someone delivering a package. The doorman looked me up and down. I was well-dressed. I always am. Not for vanity, but for armor. "Good evening. I'm here to drop off a car," I said. He called up to her. She came down minutes later, hair hastily tied back, wearing sweats, a sour look on her face, the same defensive energy as always, before a word was even spoken. "What is this?" she asked, looking at my car on the flatbed. "Your son sent a gift," I replied. She frowned. "Excuse me?" I stood at a polite distance, not invading, not retreating. I heard him talking to his father, I said, my voice even. Yeah, I already cut the brakes. See you at her funeral tomorrow. I paused for a second, then finished dryly. I didn't scream. I just had the car sent to you. Her face changed. It wasn't fear. It was rage. You're sick, she snapped, way too quickly. You'll make up anything to... I don't make things up. I cut in, not raising my voice. I just deliver. I took a spare key from my purse and held it out, a present from your son. She didn't take it right away, just stared at it, as if the key were contaminated. What do you want with this? She asked. Nothing, I answered. I want to stay alive. The tow truck driver cleared his throat impatiently. Sign here, ma'am. She signed, snatching the key with anger, as if grabbing an accusation. I turned to leave, and before getting into the Uber I had already called, I said one last thing, as simply as possible. If you think I'm exaggerating, take it to a mechanic tomorrow. Not today. Tomorrow, when you're calm. I took a breath and finished. Just don't let anyone drive it. She didn't answer, but I saw a crack in the back of her eyes. It wasn't trust in me. It was the shock of realizing that maybe her own son had become someone she could no longer control. On the way back, in the Uber, the city passed in flashes. Traffic lights, crowded buses, motorcycles weaving through lanes. Los Angeles always seems to be in a hurry to crush someone who's distracted. I sat up straight, hands folded in my lap. My phone buzzed. It was my husband calling. I let it ring 3 times. 4, 5. I answered. Where are you? He asked, his voice harsh. Have you lost your mind? You sent my car to my ex's house. My car? Not. Are you okay? Not. What happened? Just possession and shame. I sent my car, I corrected him calmly, and I sent it because I heard your son say he cut the brakes. Silence. A short silence, the kind that desperately seeks an escape route. You're accusing my son? He said, as if I'd just insulted his mother. I'm not accusing. I'm repeating what I heard. You must have heard wrong. I didn't. His breathing quickened on the other end of the line. You're doing this to punish me, to control me. I almost laughed. Almost. I'm doing this so I don't die. He went quiet again. Then he said the sentence I'd heard before in different versions, whenever something threatened his peace. We'll talk when you get home. I looked out the window and saw a woman crossing the street, holding a child's hand, pulling forcefully because the light was about to change. I replied, No, we'll talk when you understand the gravity of this, and hung up. I got back to my building but didn't go in right away. I stood in the lobby, staring at my apartment door as if it were something else entirely. I opened the building's security camera app. I had access because I was on the condo board, the organized wife, the one who gets things done, the one who always helps. The list of recordings appeared. I selected the time from the late afternoon. It wasn't for proof yet, just a gut feeling. And that's when I saw it. The image was a bit grainy, but clear enough. His son, going down to the parking garage alone, looking from side to side, walking too fast for someone who was just getting a charger from the car. He stopped right next to my vehicle, crouched down by the front wheel for far too long. Then he stood up and walked away as if nothing had happened. My chest tightened, but my face didn't change. I downloaded the video and saved it in a folder with a neutral name, Documents. At that very moment, a notification popped up, a message from his mother. I opened it. A short voice memo, her voice shaky, without its earlier aggressive tone. I just took it for a quick spin around the block, just to see, and the brake didn't feel right. I came back slowly. Did you really hear him say that? I leaned my back against the cold lobby wall. For the first time since I heard the word funeral, I felt the urge to cry. But I didn't. I just gripped my phone tightly and thought with an icy clarity, now it's not about me proving it. Now it's about me surviving and deciding who is going to pay the price. I listened to her voice memo twice without changing my expression. I just took it for a quick spin. The brake didn't feel right. I came back slowly. She didn't apologize. Not yet. But her voice no longer held that aggressive certainty. It held fear. And in America, fear is a universal language. I typed back, tomorrow morning, take it to a good mechanic. Ask for a written report. Don't let anyone touch it before you've filmed everything. I sent it and locked my phone for a second, as if closing the door to a dangerous place. Inside the apartment, the house smelled the same as always, cleaning products and fabric softener, but I had the feeling I'd returned to a movie set, a stage where I was the only one who knew the ending. I opened my laptop on the kitchen table and did what a woman needs to do when her life becomes a concrete threat. I created redundancy. The video from the garage camera, I'd already downloaded it. I uploaded it to the cloud, emailed it to myself, saved it on a USB drive I kept in my purse, and took screenshots of the timestamp, his face, his path. I wasn't creating evidence. I was preventing the evidence from dying before I did. My husband arrived an hour later. I heard the key in the lock, the hard turn, the door opening with too much force. He didn't sound like someone who was worried. He sounded like someone who was ashamed. He walked straight into the kitchen. "Are you insane?" he said, looking first at my laptop, then at me. "You sent a tow truck to take the car to my ex-wife's house. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is?" I didn't stand up. I didn't close the laptop. I didn't defend myself. I have an idea of what I heard. "You heard what? A sentence? A stupid teenage joke? You're going to destroy our family over a sentence?" The word family came out of his mouth like a shield. I felt a pang in my chest, not of loss, but of lucidity. "Do you want me to repeat it?" I asked. He clenched his jaw. "I want you to stop this." I tilted my head very slowly. "Are you more worried about what your ex will think than the fact that someone tampered with my car?" "Nobody tampered with your car," he insisted, as if repetition would make it true. "You're being paranoid." I opened my phone and played his mother's voice memo without saying a word. Her voice filled the kitchen, shaky and small. When it ended, I let the silence hang in the air. He blinked twice, swallowed hard, and for a second his face lost its certainty, but it didn't last. "She's dramatic," he said, trying to regain control. "She always has been." I laughed without a sound. "You're listening to a woman say she almost couldn't break, and you call it drama?" He took a step toward me. "You are not getting the police involved in this. Do you hear me? You will not ruin my son's life." That's when I felt something cold, very clear. He had already chosen his side, and it wasn't mine. I stood up and calmly picked up my purse. "I'm not going to ruin anyone's life," I said. "I'm just not going to die to keep your peace." "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice a little softer, as if he were afraid I might actually leave. "I'm going to sleep somewhere else tonight." He laughed nervously. "Are you emotionally blackmailing me?" "No," I answered. "I'm choosing to continue existing." I went to the bedroom, grabbed a change of clothes and my toiletry bag. I didn't take a suitcase. A suitcase becomes a scene. I wasn't leaving for good. I was taking 2 steps back so I wouldn't get hit. At the door, he tried to grab my arm. I stopped. I looked at his hand on my wrist, then raised my eyes to his face. He let go. Because in that look, there was something he wasn't used to seeing in me. It wasn't anger. It was decision. In the elevator, my legs felt weak for the first time. I leaned my back against the mirrored wall and closed my eyes for 2 seconds. I'm not fragile, but fear is physical. Fear lives in the stomach. Fear rises to the throat. I breathed until it went down. Outside, the LA night was loud, warm, and indifferent. I called an Uber and gave the address of a friend, not a close one, but a reliable one. A woman from my work who had seen me handle crises without making a scene. On the way, I saw motorcycles weaving between cars as if the city were a competition. Headlights, brakes. The word brake had become a sound inside my head. When I arrived, she opened the door in her pajamas, her eyes wide. "What happened?" I didn't tell her everything. I didn't have to. "I need to sleep here tonight. Just tonight." She looked at me for 2 seconds, understood from my demeanor, and just opened the door wider. "Okay." I lay down on her couch and stared at the ceiling. The house had a different kind of silence, a silence that didn't hide a threat, a silence that just was. I tried to sleep, but my body wouldn't shut down. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from my husband. "You're overreacting. Come back tomorrow and we'll talk." I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another message. I already spoke to him. He said it was a joke. I read it and felt a bitter taste in my mouth. I already spoke to him, meaning he didn't investigate. He went looking for a sentence that would let him erase everything. At 6:30 a.m., the phone buzzed again. This time it was his mother. "I got an appointment at an auto shop, but I don't want to go alone." I sat up on the couch, my hair a mess, and replied in a low voice, I'll go." She let out a breath on the other end, as if she'd been holding it all night. He slept at home. I tried to look at him, and I didn't recognize him. Her words cut through me because it was exactly what I was feeling, but about my marriage. I got up, washed my face, tied up my hair, put on a neutral, elegant outfit that wouldn't draw attention. I didn't want to look like a victim or a villain. I wanted to look like what I was, someone who wasn't going to disappear. On the way to the auto shop, I drove down the 405. Traffic was starting to build. A crowded bus with people standing, tired faces, as if the world were just another Monday. And for a second, I thought, if I had started the car yesterday, I could have been one of those small news stories the city swallows and forgets. The auto shop was one of those old-school places with a chain-link gate and the smell of oil. The owner seemed to know everyone in the neighborhood. His mother was already there, arms crossed, her face hard with the effort of not showing she was scared. When she saw me, she didn't smile. But she didn't attack either. She just said, "I brought the car. I filmed it first, like you said." I nodded. "The mechanic told us to wait. Said he needed to get it on the lift, take a good look, that it wasn't something you could see from a distance. Come back later," he said. "This won't be quick." I had expected it, and still my chest tightened. Because waiting when you know someone tried to kill you is a form of torture. We sat in a simple diner across the street, 2 coffees on the table, the noise of a TV, and people talking loudly. She stirred her coffee without drinking it. "You always wanted to separate him from me, didn't you?" she said suddenly, as if she needed to cling to an old narrative to keep from falling. I looked at her without pity. "I always wanted to live. That's all." She pressed her lips together. "He's my son, and I'm the wife of someone who should have protected me," I replied, "except no one is protecting anyone here. Everyone is just protecting appearances." She was silent for a long time. Then, in a smaller voice, she confessed, "He's been acting strange for months, more aggressive, more withdrawn. I thought it was just being a teenager." She looked at me for the first time like I was a person. "His father has seen it." I felt anger rise like a fever, but I swallowed it, because open anger would make me lose my precision. "He saw the signs," I said, "and he chose not to see." When we returned to the shop, the mechanic called her over. He spoke quietly, showed her something I couldn't see clearly, but I saw her hand tremble on the counter. She turned to me, pale. "He really did it," she whispered. This isn't normal." I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel relief. I felt an emptiness that felt like ice, because confirmation brings no peace when what is being confirmed is an attempt on your life. The mechanic said he could write up a simple report, but it would take time. Paperwork, signature, stamp. "I'll have it for you tomorrow," he said. His mother took the provisional slip of paper as if it were a verdict. She looked at her phone, hesitated, and then asked me, her voice barely a whisper, "What are you going to do now?" I looked at the asphalt, at the flow of cars, at the noise of the city. "I'm going to file a police report," I said, just like that. She swallowed hard. "He's a minor." 17 isn't a baby," I replied coldly. "And I'm not going to be buried so he can keep being just a boy." She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, there were tears held back. "I'll go with you." It was the first time she had stood on my side, not out of love, but out of shock. But shock moves people, too. We agreed that as soon as the report was ready, I would file it with the LAPD, and because he was a minor, the process would follow a different path. I had already read enough to know it wouldn't be quick. It would be long, heavy, and probably dirty. Late that afternoon, as I was leaving the auto shop, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. No picture, no name, just a short, dry sentence, as if it had been rehearsed. "You heard, didn't you? No point in running." I stopped on the sidewalk. The sound of the street faded, and I realized something I hadn't considered until then. He knew I had heard him, and that changed everything. The message stayed on my screen like a blade. "You heard, didn't you? No point in running." I didn't reply. In America, when you reply, you engage. I took a screenshot, saved it, emailed it to myself, and forwarded it to his mother with a single sentence. "He knows." She typed and deleted. Finally, she sent, "Oh my God." I put the phone in my pocket and kept walking as if nothing had happened. The street was busy, people leaving the grocery store, a motorcycle zipping past, an impatient horn. The world doesn't stop for someone who almost died yesterday. I got into a taxi because I didn't want a rideshare app tracking my route. A paranoia, maybe. But after no point in running, I preferred to be discreet. I arrived at her building in the late afternoon. She was waiting for me in the lobby, her eyes swollen, but what stood out most was her demeanor, less attack, more exhaustion. "He didn't go to school today," she said without preamble. "He skipped?" "He left early, said he had to take care of something." She clutched her purse to her chest. I asked what. He just laughed. I felt my stomach tighten. 17 years old and laughing. "The mechanic will give you the report tomorrow, right?" I confirmed. "Yes." She took a deep breath. "And I'll go with you to file the police report." "But what if the police don't do anything?" I looked at the glass door. At our reflection, she, the ex, me, the wife, 2 women trapped by the same man, and now the same boy. "They'll file the report," I said. "It might take a while to move forward, but the record will exist. And he knows that. That's why he sent the message." "It was him? Who else would it be?" I answered coldly. "He wants me to feel hunted. He wants me to shut up." I went up to her apartment with her, not because I felt safe, but because I needed to align our next steps. At her kitchen table, I opened my laptop and organized everything into folders. Condo security video, garage. Screenshots, threatening text. Tow truck company, RBSE. Call log, truck plate. Vehicle identification, registration, insurance. Mechanic's report, pending. I wrote a short script for myself, because a police station is no place for improvisation. Overheard confession. Did not confront. Had vehicle removed. Auto shop found evidence of tampering with brake system. Have footage of minor at the vehicle. Received threat via text message. No adjectives, no crying, no I think, just facts. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it and went pale. "He's calling me." "Don't answer," I said. She hesitated. "He's my son, and I'm the woman he tried to kill," I replied, not raising my voice. "If you answer now, he'll manipulate you. He'll get information out of you. He'll know our next move." She closed her eyes for a second, as if betraying herself. Then she hit decline. The phone rang again and again. On the 4th try, it stopped. She was breathing shakily. I don't recognize my own son. I didn't comfort her. I wasn't there to console. I was there to maintain a straight line. "Tomorrow morning, we get the report, and then we go to the LAPD, I said. No warning for his father. No family meeting. No discussion. She looked at me as if my coldness were inhuman, but that was exactly what was keeping us standing. I left her building as night fell. Before getting in the car, I checked the street, a new habit, and that's when I saw a detail that made me freeze. Across the street, near a closed newsstand, a figure was leaning against the wall. A low-brimmed baseball cap, a backpack, a thin frame. I couldn't see the whole face, but I recognized the posture. I recognized the swagger. 17 years old, with the cruel courage of someone who thinks he's untouchable. I didn't cross the street. I didn't confront him. I just discreetly raised my phone, as if checking a message, and filmed for 3 seconds. The figure shifted, as if he'd noticed. I got in the car and told the driver to go. "Everything okay, ma'am?" he asked, looking in the rearview mirror. "Just drive," I said. On the way, I called my colleague and made a simple request. "Tomorrow, I need you to come with me somewhere. It's not a favor, I'll buy you lunch afterward." She didn't ask questions, just said, "Okay." I got to my apartment around 10 p.m. My husband was there, sitting on the couch, still in his work shirt, face grim, the TV on without sound, the classic pose of someone waiting to control the conversation. "You spent the day with her?" he said, without greeting me. I put my purse on the table without rushing. I did. "You're plotting something." I took my phone out of my pocket and put the threatening text on the screen. I turned it to him. "This arrived today." He read it. His face changed for an instant, just one. Then the mask went back on. "That could be from any number." "It could," I agreed. "Just like cut the brakes could have been a joke. Anything can be anything when you want to pretend." He stood up. "You're going to destroy his future." His future isn't more important than my present, I replied. He took a deep breath, trying to stay rational. You're turning a family problem into a police matter. No, I corrected. Someone turned my car into a weapon. I'm just reporting it. He took a step closer and lowered his voice, as if that would make everything more intimate. I spoke to him. He swore he didn't do anything. And you believed him? He's my son, and I'm your wife. He blinked, uncomfortable. Are you trying to turn me against him? I don't need to, I said. You already turned yourself against me when you chose to call this an exaggeration. He ran a hand over his face, nervous, and blurted out, You are not going to the police station. I smiled at the corner of my mouth, but without humor. I've already decided. He tried one last card. If you do this, it's over. I heard that threat like a wrapped gift. Then it's over, I said. The silence that followed was heavy. The TV remained soundless. The building continued with its muffled noise of other people's lives, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. It wasn't love. It wasn't concern. It was calculation. You don't know who you're messing with, he murmured, almost as if repeating the boy's sentiment. I didn't tremble on the outside. I know exactly, I replied. A man who calls an attempted murder drama, and a boy who thinks a text message can erase a crime. I went to the bedroom and locked the door. Just like that. I wasn't going to sleep next to a person who, that day, sounded more like the son than the husband. In bed, the adrenaline subsided a bit, and the truth came in a wave. I was afraid. A raw, animal fear. I swallowed hard. My eyes burned, but I didn't cry. Crying was for when I was safe. I opened the condo security app again and looked for the recordings from the day before, around the time my husband left to get some groceries, and I found a new detail. The video showed him, my husband, going down to the garage, stopping by my car. Not for long, just enough to open the driver's side door, rifle through something inside, and close it. My heart did a short, hard leap. I rewound the video, paused, zoomed in. He wasn't near the wheel. He was inside the car, in my glove compartment. A chill ran down my spine. My husband wasn't just someone who didn't see the signs. He had been in my car after his son. I downloaded that clip, saved it in 3 more places, and emailed it to myself with a neutral subject line, video. At 6:30 a.m., I was already up. Black coffee, washed face, simple blazer. The boy's mother sent me a message. He left the house again. Hasn't come back. I replied simply, focus on the report today. I met my colleague in the lobby as planned. She looked at my face and understood it wasn't gossip. Where are we going? She asked. Auto shop, then the police station, I said. Just stay with me. She nodded. On the way, my husband called. I didn't answer. He called again. I blocked his number. When we arrived at the auto shop, the mechanic handed us a paper with an official-looking letterhead. It wasn't a state forensic report, but it was a technical assessment, enough to get a police report started. The boy's mother took the paper with both hands, as if it were a living thing. Let's go, she asked. I looked at her, then at the paper, and finally at my phone with the video of my husband in the glove compartment. Let's go, I said. Inside the car, the city seemed louder than ever. Traffic lights, motorcycles, people jaywalking, everything depended on working brakes. I sat up straight, looking ahead, and when the GPS announced, Police Department ahead, my phone buzzed with a new voice memo, this time from my husband, from a number I hadn't blocked. I accidentally hit play. His voice came out low, urgent, almost a whisper. Don't go in there. I got what I needed to get from your car. It's handled. I froze, because in that sentence were 2 things. 1, he confirmed he had tampered with my car. 2, he thought he could still fix things by erasing the trail. I stopped the audio with a firm finger and stared at the police station's facade as if it were the only possible door. The facade of the precinct looked worse up close. This wasn't a movie set. It was peeling paint, scratched glass, a weak air conditioner, and people waiting with the tired look of those who already know they'll have to fight to be heard. I got out of the car with the report in my hand, my phone in my pocket, and my spine straight. My friend stood silently by my side, as promised. The boy's mother followed 2 steps behind, clutching her purse like a life raft. Are you sure? She whispered one last time. I looked at her just long enough to end the doubt. I am. We entered the reception area. They asked for ID, full name, address. The officer at the desk barely looked up. Not out of malice, but out of habit. Police stations swallow drama every day. When they called us in, I sat before the desk officer with a calm that didn't match what I was about to say. I noticed it in his eyes. He expected a hysterical wife. I gave him an objective one. "What happened?" he asked. I started from the beginning, without embellishment. I overheard my husband's son tell his father that he had cut the brakes on my car. I did not confront them. I left silently, called a tow truck, and had the car taken to his mother's house. The next day, an auto shop found evidence of tampering with the brake system. I have the report, security footage of him at the car, and I received a threat via text message. The officer looked up. "How old is your husband's son?" 17. He made a short sound with his mouth, like someone mentally rerouting the path. "Minor. It'll go through juvenile court. But you file the report here." He held out his hand. "Let me see the report." I gave it to him. He read it quickly, made a mental note, and typed something. "Do you have the images?" "I do." I opened my phone, showed him the garage video, the screenshot of the text. "You heard, didn't you? No point in running." I played my husband's voice memo without dramatizing it. "Don't go in there. I got what I needed to get from your car. It's handled." The officer pressed his lips together. "This audio is from him?" "It's my husband's voice, and that's his number." I saw his pen pause for a second, not from shock, but from gravity. The boy's mother let out a breath that seemed to have been trapped in her chest since yesterday. "I didn't know," she murmured, almost to herself. I didn't look at her. I knew that in that moment, any word from me could be seen as an attack. I let the weight of it land on its own. The officer asked the obvious. "Do you fear for your safety? Does anyone else have access to your car?" he continued. I answered with precision. "My husband, his son, and the building has security cameras." I didn't say, "I think." I said, "It has." He typed more, asked for my ID, wrote down my social security number, asked where I was staying that night. I told the truth without unnecessary details. "I'm staying away from home, for my safety." He nodded. "You'll receive a case number. With that, you can request a protective order, and the case will be forwarded to the proper department." He paused. "Ma'am, you understand this could become a long investigation, right?" "I understand," I replied. "I just need it to exist." He printed out a form, stamped it, and slid it across the desk to me. I took the paper like someone receiving a birth certificate for a new phase of life. My friend squeezed my shoulder discreetly. The boy's mother was staring at the floor. I saw her throat bob as she fought not to break down right there. Then the door to the hallway opened, and my husband walked in. I smelled him before I saw him, that scent of expensive cologne and haste, that firm stride of a man who believes he's still in charge. He had another man in a suit with him. A lawyer, a briefcase, a serious, "let's resolve this" face. My husband saw us and his face hardened. "I knew it," he said, loud enough to draw attention. "You actually came." I didn't stand up. Not because I was calm inside, but because I knew standing up would turn it into a scene, and a scene was his territory. The officer looked up over his glasses. "And you are, sir?" "I'm her husband," he replied. "This is a complete absurdity. She's accusing my son of something serious, without any proof." I placed the proof on the table with 2 fingers, the report, the screenshot, the video. Not pushing it, just displaying it. "There is proof," I said. His lawyer cleared his throat. "We would like to register that our client is in the midst of a domestic dispute and that this could be a form of retaliation." I turned my phone around and played my husband's voice memo, very quietly, just for the officer to hear. The words cut through the air like a knife. "I got what I needed to get from your car. It's handled." The lawyer stopped talking. My husband's jaw locked. "Are you recording me?" "I'm surviving," I answered, my tone unchanged. The officer made a gesture with his hand. "Sir, this is not the place for an argument. If you have something to declare, you can file your own report separately. As of now, this report is being formalized." My husband took an angry step forward. "This is going to ruin my son's life." I looked at him then, with complete coldness. "Who tried to ruin mine?" For a second, I saw something in him. It wasn't guilt. It was the fear of losing control. He lowered his voice, as if that would bend me to his will. "You don't know what you're doing." I almost replied, "Oh, I do," but I swallowed the words. It wasn't worth it. The officer called another cop to manage the situation. They told my husband to wait outside. He left, but before he turned down the hall, he shot me a hard look, like a promise. The boy's mother stood up, trembling. "Where is he?" she asked my husband, but he was already being escorted out. I saw her desperation grow, and for the first time, I understood the part of her I had always hated. When it's your child, your heart tries to lie to protect them. "He left home yesterday," she repeated, almost voiceless. "He didn't come back." The officer made a note. "Do you know where he might be?" She shook her head. "His father," she said, looking at me as if admitting defeat. He always knew. I felt a lump in my throat, not for pity of her, for the realization I was married to the kind of man who knows and hides. When it was over, the officer handed me the case file number and explained the basic next steps, without promising miracles. "You'll be called in for a follow-up. There may be a request for an official forensic analysis, and since it involves a minor, the case will be sent to the appropriate authorities. Save everything. Don't delete anything." "I won't delete anything," I replied. I walked out of the room with the paper in my hand and the feeling that I had crossed a line with no return. In the hallway, my husband was waiting. He came at me quickly, trying to corner me with the sweet words I knew so well. "Honey, let's talk," he said, feigning calm. "You're tired. Let's go home. I promise you, I'll handle this with him." I stopped. I looked at him with a clean, scandal-free disgust. "You handling it means erasing the evidence. I heard you say it." He blinked. "I just wanted to protect you." "You wanted to protect him," I corrected. "You wanted to protect your name." Behind me, the boy's mother let out a choked sound. "You knew?" she asked him, her voice breaking. "You knew he was like this?" My husband stiffened for an instant, and then he did what men like him do. He shifted the blame to the easiest target. "Look what you're both doing. Two hysterical women ganging up on a boy." I felt my skin go cold. My colleague took a step forward for the first time and said in a low, firm voice, "Don't you dare call this hysteria. This is a crime." My husband looked at her as if she were invisible. Then he turned back to me. "You won't be able to sustain this," he said, "and when you come home, you'll realize that." I didn't answer. I just walked. Outside, the midday sun beat down hard on the asphalt. I breathed in the hot air and felt my stomach turn, but I kept my face composed. In the car, my friend asked me quietly, "Are you going back home tonight?" I opened my banking app out of instinct and saw a notification that made me stop breathing for a second. Wire transfer completed. Joint account. Large sum. Recipient unknown. I stared at the screen without blinking. He had done it while I was inside the police station, as if to say, "You opened the door to the law? I'll open the door to the money." I closed the app slowly and thought with a calm that felt like ice. This isn't just about breaks anymore. This is about war. My phone buzzed again. A text from the boy's mother. "He's back. He's locked in his room. Says he has something to tell his father." I looked at the road ahead and knew that the next sentence could destroy everything for good. I read his mother's message twice without blinking. "He's back. He's locked in his room. Says he has something to tell his father." That wasn't a threat. It was an announcement. I didn't respond with panic. I responded with logistics. "Don't open the door alone. I'm on my way with someone. If he comes out, let me know." My work friend drove me there in silence. She didn't ask questions. She was just present. Sometimes that's what keeps a woman from falling. On the way, my phone buzzed again. It was my husband. I didn't answer. I opened the banking app again and confirmed it. The transfer was real, from our joint account. A large sum to a destination I didn't recognize. He wasn't scared. He was preparing for battle. When I got to her building, the doorman looked at me as if I were a character in a soap opera. I walked past him without lowering my head. She opened the door, her face tense, her eyes red. "He's in there," she said quietly, locked in. "Did you talk to him?" I tried. He screamed at me, said I was going to side with the stepmother. Her voice trembled on the word stepmother, as if it were a sin. I took one deep breath. "Call him to the door? Don't yell, just call him." She knocked on his bedroom door softly. "Son, please open up." Silence. Then the knob turned just a little, and the door opened a crack. He appeared, his cap pulled low, his eyes bright with youthful rage, but there was something else there too. Exhaustion. Fear. A fear he didn't know how to name. He saw me and smirked. "Here to report me?" he taunted. I didn't respond to the provocation. I held up the police report, not getting too close. "I filed it," I said, "because I'm not going to die for you to play God." His smirk faded. "You're exaggerating. Everyone exaggerates with you, don't they?" He looked at his mother. "Why did you bring her here? To judge me?" His mother opened her mouth, then closed it. She was lost between shame and instinct. I was direct, cold. "You sent me a message. You heard, didn't you? No point in running. That was you." He shrugged. "So what if it was? Then you confirm you know what you did." He laughed nervously. "I didn't do anything. I took my phone from my pocket and opened the security video. I didn't press play yet. I just left it on the still frame of him, crouched beside my car. Do you really want to call me crazy while looking at this?" His mouth snapped shut. For a second, he seemed smaller than his arrogance. His mother brought a hand to her mouth as if she were going to be sick. She hadn't seen the footage yet. "Oh my God," she whispered. He whipped his head around, irritated with her. "Stop. Stop being so dramatic." I took a single step, just one, staying far enough away not to be a physical threat, but close enough to be a presence. "You said you had something to tell your father," I said. "Tell us now." He stared at me. And then the first real crack appeared. He realized I wasn't there to beg. He also realized something else. His father wasn't there. And that bothered him. "Where is he?" he snarled. "Living his life," I answered simply. He took a sharp breath, like someone holding back a sob that had turned to anger. And then, without looking at me, he said to his mother, "I did it because he said it was just to scare her." The air in the room seemed to stop. His mother blinked slowly. "Who said that?" The boy swallowed hard and continued, faster now, as if he were afraid to hear his own words. "Him, my dad." He gestured to an empty space, as if his father were standing there. "He said that he looked at me with pure hatred, that she was trying to take everything, that she was going to leave him with nothing, that it was just to get her to stop acting like she owned the place." I felt my stomach turn inside out because for a second I saw the entire picture. It wasn't just a cruel teenager, it was a teenager being used as a weapon. "He said if she got scared, she'd leave," he blurted out. "It was just a scare tactic, just to scare her." His mother began to cry silently, a cry that seemed born of shame. I didn't cry. I felt tears coming, burning, and I swallowed them, just like I had swallowed everything else for years. "And you thought messing with the brakes was a normal way to scare someone?" I asked. He opened his mouth, and his arrogance failed him. "I didn't think you thought about a funeral." I cut him off. "You said funeral." He squeezed his eyes shut, and I saw it then, behind the anger, a boy with a head full of the wrong ideas, fed to him by his father. My colleague, who had been quiet the whole time, spoke for the first time, her voice firm. "Do you realize you could have killed someone?" The boy fell silent. His weeping mother turned to me with a broken sincerity. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." I looked at her, and for the first time, I believed her. Not because she was innocent, but because she was too destroyed to pretend. My phone vibrated again, a text from my husband, the mask now completely off. "You filed the report. I did what I had to do with the money. If you don't want to lose everything, we make a deal today." "A deal?" He wanted to negotiate with fear. I raised my eyes from the phone and looked at the boy. "Are you going to repeat this in front of an official?" I said. "The right way. With a counselor present, because you're a minor and because I'm not a murderer. I don't want to destroy you. I want you to take responsibility." He swallowed hard. "My dad will hate me." I gave a small, cold smile. "Your father doesn't know how to hate. He only knows how to use." I turned to his mother. "Are you coming with me tomorrow?" I said. "You're going to bring him, and you're going to tell the truth. Not to please me, to save your son from what he's becoming." She nodded through her tears. "I will." The boy whispered, almost without strength, I didn't want to kill anyone. I didn't hug him. I didn't pat his head. I just spoke, without cruelty, without sweetness. "Then start now. No more lies." I left the building with the same posture I had entered with, but inside, I was on fire. In the car, I took a deep breath and called a lawyer I knew from the condo board, a practical woman with a firm voice. I need emergency measures filed today, I said. My husband wired money out of our joint account while I was filing a police report, and I have audio and video. She didn't ask why. She asked how much and when. I told her what was necessary. Send me everything, she said. And you are not going back to that apartment tonight. I'm not going back. That night, I slept in a place that wasn't mine, and it was strange to feel my body relax for the first time in days, as if fear had finally understood that here it could rest for a few hours. The next morning, his mother sent a short text. "He's coming," I replied. "Me too." The road that followed wasn't fast. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't a TV movie revenge plot. There were meetings with juvenile services, there were counselors, referrals, paperwork, waiting, stares the weight of a process that never makes headlines. There was the boy, facing his own words and breaking down from the inside the way that only happens when the fantasy of power collapses. And there was my husband, on the other side, trying to intimidate me with money. But money is a weak weapon when the woman on the other side decides to stop being afraid. The account he thought he could use to silence me became a paper trail. The audio he thought was about control became a confession. And the video of him at the glove compartment became the one piece he could never explain away without tying himself in knots. He wasn't arrested. I didn't want blood. I wanted consequences. What I got was colder and more just. I got divorced, properly, with no drama, no second chances. I removed my name from anything that could sink me. I refused to accept any deal built on threats. And the boy, he was forced to look at his own actions, to attend counseling, to live with the shame he thought I deserved. One morning, weeks later, I was in the kitchen of my new apartment, smaller, simpler, but mine, and the sun was pouring through the window, as if the city had finally stopped trying to run me over. My phone buzzed. A text from his mother. He started the program. "I'm done protecting what's wrong." I stared at the screen for 2 seconds, then I replied with just one word. "Okay," because I learned something. When you survive, you don't need to make a speech. You just need to keep going. And for anyone listening to this story, I'll say one thing from the bottom of my heart. Sometimes violence doesn't arrive with a punch. It arrives with silence, with manipulation, with a single part tampered with at just the right moment. If this story touched you, don't keep it to yourself.